Explanation about fetch, decode, execute stages of CPU. Let's start with the first stage. The very first thing that happens is the program counter is checked as it holds the address of the next instruction to be executed. The address stored is the address stored is then copied into the memory address register. The address is then sent along the address bus to main memory, where it waits to receive a signal from the control bus. So it knows that what to do as we want to read the data that is stored in the memory address. Let's say 0000. The control unit sends a read signal along the control bus to main memory. Now main memory knows the data needs to be read, the content stored in the memory address 0000 can be sent along the data bus to the memory address register. Now, as we are currently in the process of fetching an instruction, the data received by the memory data register gets copied on into the current instruction register, that is your CIR. The instruction effectively has now been fetched from the memory. Just before we proceed to the decode phase, we now increment the program counter so that the address it contains points to the address to the next instruction, which will need to be executed. The instruction now being held in the current instruction register is ready to be decoded. The instruction is actually made up of two parts: the opcode, that is what we have to do, and we have the operand. What are we going to do? Okay, so opcode and operand. Opcode is the operation code and operand is what we are going. Okay, so now the operand could contain the actual data, or it could contain an address of where the data is to be found. Correct? See, it could be two things: either it will have the address or it could have the actual data. So that will be determined by the CPU itself. So again I'll tell you, the operand could contain the actual data or it could contain an address of where the data is to be found. By decoding this instruction, we can see the operation we need is a load operation. So we need to load the contents of memory location 0101. That you can check your diagram where we are written. So 0101 into the CPU's accumulator. So now we have fetched the instruction and we have decoded it. So your fetch and decode cycle is done. So we fetch that 0101 and now we have decoded what we have to do. Now we are finally ready to execute it. So we now send the address 0101 to the memory address register. Now we are in the memory address register. We can finally send the address down the address bus to the main memory. This time we want to read the data that is stored in the memory, and so the control unit again sends a read signal along the control bus. Main memory now receives an address and a read signal, so the content stored at the memory location 0101 can now be sent along the data bus back to the CPU into the memory data register. Now, if after this is done, finally the contents of the memory data register are copied into the accumulator, and this is one of the general purpose register found in the CPU. This first instruction is now complete. So the start of a new fetch decode cycle can begin after this. So we have completed the entire one cycle. So after this fetch execute cycle is done, you can start a new cycle, as we have the different opcode and operand already lined up if you look at in the RAM. Okay, so the instruction will be executed as the cycle goes on. So once one cycle is done, it goes to the next cycle and so on. So here what we have seen is one complete cycle of fetch, decode and execute, showing how each of the various registers are used and how information travels between these registers across the buses to and fro from the CPU and main memory. I hope you have understood. If not, play it again to understand, and please keep the diagram along when you're listening to this so you can understand better. Without the diagram, I don't think you will be able to comprehend what I'm talking about. Thank you.